After 12 years of marriage, I found out my wife was faking a disability while spending thousands on food delivery apps. When I cut her off, she stole $2,000 from my account. I, 43M, reached my breaking point last Friday. I came home from work, checked our credit card statement online, and nearly had a heart attack. My wife Deborah, 40F, had spent $1,243 on food delivery apps in a single month. There were days where she ordered food twice, sometimes 3 times in one day. This was not just a one-time thing. It had been building up for months. Deborah and I have been married for 12 years. About 6 years ago, she quit her job as an administrative assistant because of what she calls chronic fatigue syndrome. She says it causes her constant pain and exhaustion. I supported her decision at first, thinking it would be temporary until she found treatment or a less demanding job. That never happened. She applied for disability benefits but was denied twice. The doctors couldn't find anything seriously wrong with her physically. Over time, I accepted that I would be the sole provider for our household. I make decent money as a construction supervisor, but we're not rich by any means. We have a mortgage, car payments, and regular bills like everyone else. I've never minded taking care of the finances, as long as we were responsible with our money. For years, things were mostly fine. Deborah kept the house in decent shape and cooked dinner most nights. About 2 years ago, she started ordering takeout once or twice a week. She said cooking was becoming too difficult with her condition. I understood and didn't make a big deal about it. Then it became 3 times a week. Then 4. Then almost every day. I tried talking to her about it many times. Each time, she would get defensive and say I didn't understand how hard things were for her. She would promise to cut back, but the next month's bill would be just as high or higher. I shop for groceries every weekend and keep our fridge and freezer stocked with food, including plenty of easy microwavable meals. Most of it goes untouched. Last month was the worst it's ever been. $1,243 on DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub combined. We simply cannot afford this. I've been wearing the same work boots for 3 years. The soles are coming apart, and I've been fixing them with duct tape because we supposedly don't have money for new ones. After seeing the credit card bill, I made a decision. I pulled money from our savings account, paid off the credit card in full, and then canceled it. I also transferred all the money from our joint checking account to my personal account. I didn't tell Deborah about any of this right away. Later that evening, Deborah tried to order dinner. Her payment was declined. She called the credit card company and then texted me asking what happened. I simply replied, "You've been cut off." When I got home, Deborah was lying on the living room floor. She claimed she hadn't eaten all day and was having low blood sugar. I pointed to the kitchen and told her there was plenty of food in the fridge and freezer. She didn't move, just stayed there glaring at me. The next morning, something strange happened. Deborah took out the garbage. I can't remember the last time she did this chore, maybe 8 years ago? I was suspicious, so I checked the garbage bin outside. Sure enough, there were food wrappers inside. She had obviously eaten something from the kitchen but wanted to maintain her starving act. The whole weekend was tense. Deborah barely spoke to me except to call me controlling and abusive. She threatened divorce several times. I didn't budge. I told her I would buy groceries and cook meals, but there would be no more delivery. Period. By Monday, Deborah started throwing tantrums. She emptied the freezer, throwing perfectly good frozen meals into the trash. I caught her trying to guess my bank password on my laptop. The attempts triggered security alerts from my bank. One guess was work boots 123, not even close. This behavior continued all week. Every day was a new accusation or a new dramatic episode. Then suddenly last Friday, she stopped. No more complaints, no more threats. She seemed almost back to normal. I thought she had finally accepted the situation. Yesterday was garbage day. I was taking the last bag out to the bin when I noticed it was heavier than usual. I looked inside and found half a dozen fast food bags and takeout containers hidden under other trash. I was confused. How was she paying for this? I brought the evidence inside and confronted her. At first, Deborah denied everything. When I dumped the garbage on the kitchen floor and showed her the receipts, she finally admitted she had taken out a payday loan. I assumed she had borrowed money from her sister or a friend. But no, she went to one of those predatory loan places and signed up for high-interest debt. I immediately went online and froze my credit. Then I drove Deborah to the payday loan place and paid off her loan in cash, $300 plus $60 in fees. That money came out of our rent fund. I'll have to pull from my retirement account now to make rent this month. On the drive home, I told Deborah we're getting divorced. I can't do this anymore. Her food delivery habit has become like an addiction. I have a sister who's been addicted to meth for years. The behaviors are eerily similar, the lying, the manipulation, the complete disregard for financial consequences. I'm honestly afraid Deborah might start selling my tools or electronics for takeout money. What makes me so mad is that Deborah has been sitting at home ordering expensive food while I work 50+ hours a week. And when I finally put my foot down, she risked our financial stability by taking out a high-interest loan. For what? For Chipotle and Panda Express. I've tried talking to her about this so many times. Every month when the credit card statement came, I would show her the numbers and explain that we can't sustain this spending. She never cared. I was planning to offer her a compromise, a $300 prepaid card each month for her food deliveries. But after discovering the payday loan, that's off the table. I've sacrificed for years. I haven't bought new clothes, gone on vacation, or even replaced necessary work equipment so that we could pay our bills. Meanwhile, Deborah spent over $1,200 on takeout in a single month. When was it going to be my turn? I know people will say she might be depressed or have an eating disorder. Maybe that's true. But at this point, I don't care anymore. She's shown zero remorse for her actions. Even my meth-addicted sister had the decency to apologize after stealing my PlayStation. Deborah acts entitled to my money and gets angry when I don't provide it. The marriage is over. I'm not going to ruin the rest of my life for someone who values DoorDash more than our financial security. Update 1: It's been 3 weeks since my last post, and things have gotten even worse. Deborah refused to accept that I was serious about the divorce. She kept insisting I was overreacting and that we could work things out. Meanwhile, I discovered she had opened another credit card in her name and racked up $800 in charges within 2 weeks, mostly on food delivery again. The day after I posted here, I contacted a divorce attorney. The consultation cost $250, which I paid from my personal account. The lawyer advised me to document everything and gather all our financial records. I spent that weekend collecting bank statements, credit reports, and making copies of important documents. Deborah noticed me organizing paperwork and demanded to know what I was doing. I told her I was preparing for our divorce. She laughed and said I would never go through with it because I needed her. This was bizarre since she doesn't work, doesn't cook anymore, and barely helps around the house. If anything, she needs me for financial support. On Monday morning, I went to work as usual. Around noon, I received multiple alerts from my bank about large withdrawals. Somehow, Deborah had gotten access to my personal account. She withdrew $2,000 in cash from 3 different ATMs within an hour. I immediately called the bank to freeze the account, but the damage was done. When I got home that evening, Deborah was gone. So was her car. She didn't answer my calls or texts. I changed all the locks that night and slept with my phone and wallet under my pillow. The next morning, I filed a police report about the stolen money, but they said it was a civil matter since we're still legally married. 3 days later, Deborah returned home to find she couldn't get in. She called me at work, screaming that I had no right to lock her out of her own house. I explained that I had every right to change the locks after she stole money from me. She threatened to break a window, so I left work early to deal with the situation. When I arrived home, Deborah was sitting on the front porch surrounded by shopping bags. Not groceries, clothes, electronics, and other non-essential items. She had spent my hard-earned money on a shopping spree. I let her inside to get her essential belongings, but told her she couldn't stay there anymore. She packed some clothes and personal items, then asked where she was supposed to go. I suggested her sister's place, which is only 20 minutes away. Deborah refused, saying her sister's house was too small and smelled weird. Eventually, she called a friend to pick her up. Before leaving, she told me I would regret this and that I owed her alimony for the rest of my life. The next day, I received a call from Deborah's sister Kelly. She was concerned because Deborah had shown up at her house at midnight, crying about how I had abandoned her. Kelly wanted to hear my side of the story. I explained everything: the excessive food delivery spending, the canceled credit card, the payday loan, and finally the $2,000 she stole from my account. Kelly was shocked. She said Deborah had told her a completely different story. According to Deborah, I had been financially controlling for years, restricting her access to money for basic necessities, and finally kicking her out with no warning because I was having an affair. None of this was true. Kelly asked me to send her copies of the credit card statements showing the food delivery charges. I did. An hour later, she called back, apologizing for doubting me. She revealed that Deborah had done something similar during her previous marriage. Her ex-husband had divorced her partly because of excessive spending on clothes and makeup. This was news to me. Deborah had always claimed her first marriage ended because her ex was abusive. Now I'm wondering what other lies she's told me over the years. Last weekend, I spent hours going through our finances in detail. I discovered that over the past year, Deborah had spent approximately $11,500 on food delivery services alone. That's almost a quarter of my take-home pay. No wonder we've been struggling to pay bills. I also found evidence that Deborah had been opening store credit cards in her name and maxing them out. She has accounts with Macy's, Target, Nordstrom, and several other retailers, all with high balances. Her credit score has plummeted to the low 500s. The divorce process is moving forward, but it's going to be complicated. My lawyer explained that in our state, debt acquired during marriage is considered marital debt, even if only one spouse incurred it. I might be responsible for half of Deborah's credit card debt unless I can prove she hid the accounts from me. Yesterday, I received a letter from Deborah's attorney demanding temporary spousal support while the divorce is pending. They're asking for $2,500 per month, more than half my take-home pay. My lawyer says this is excessive given the circumstances, but we'll have to fight it in court. I'm exhausted and stressed beyond belief. My work performance is suffering, and my boss has noticed. I explained the situation, and he's been understanding so far, but I can't keep taking time off for legal consultations and courthouse visits. The one positive development is that I've discovered how much money I can save without Deborah's spending habits draining our accounts. I've already put aside enough for new work boots, steel-toed ones that will last for years. It's a small victory, but it means something to me. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I've uncovered even more disturbing information about Deborah's behavior. The divorce proceedings are well underway, but getting messier by the day. After Deborah moved out, I started cleaning up the house and organizing our belongings. In the guest room closet, I found 3 large plastic bins filled with unopened packages. There were dozens of items, kitchen gadgets, clothing, shoes, cosmetics, electronics, most still in their Amazon packaging. The delivery dates ranged from 6 months to 2 years ago. Deborah had been secretly ordering things online and hiding them. I checked our old bank statements and discovered that Deborah had been using our joint account for these purchases, categorizing them as household necessities when we discussed finances. Over 3 years, she spent approximately $14,000 on items that were never used or even mentioned to me. This discovery came right before our first court date for the divorce. My lawyer advised me to document everything and bring the evidence to court. The judge seemed unimpressed with Deborah's claims of financial abuse when presented with the credit card statements, hidden purchases, and the $2,000 she stole from my account. However, the court still awarded Deborah temporary support of $1,200 per month while the divorce is finalized. This is significantly less than what she requested, but still a major burden on my finances. The judge also ordered an equal division of our remaining joint assets, which isn't much after years of Deborah's excessive spending. About 3 weeks ago, I received a strange call from our neighbor, Mrs. Peterson. She mentioned seeing all those delivery people coming to our house during weekdays over the past few years when I was at work. According to her, food delivery vehicles would arrive almost daily, sometimes twice. Mrs. Peterson asked if everything was okay now that she hadn't seen any deliveries recently. This confirmed what I had suspected. Deborah's food delivery habit was even worse than what showed up on our joint credit card. She must have had other payment methods I wasn't aware of. I asked my lawyer to subpoena Deborah's personal bank records. The results were shocking. Deborah has a secret bank account that she opened 4 years ago. The account received regular deposits from her parents, about $500 monthly. This money was specifically for her medical treatments for her supposed chronic fatigue. Instead, most of it went to restaurants, food delivery, and online shopping. This was particularly upsetting because Deborah's parents are not wealthy. Her father is retired, and her mother works part-time at a grocery store. They were sacrificing their own financial security to help their daughter, believing she was using the money for health reasons. I called Deborah's parents to explain what I had discovered. At first, they didn't believe me. Deborah had told them I was a controlling husband who refused to pay for her medical care. When I emailed them copies of the bank statements showing how their money was actually spent, her mother broke down crying. Her father was furious. They confronted Deborah about this deception. Instead of admitting the truth, Deborah claimed I had fabricated the bank statements to turn them against her. She accused me of hacking into her account and manipulating the transaction history. Her parents weren't convinced by these far-fetched claims. Last week, Deborah's parents came to the house to collect some of her remaining belongings. They apologized to me for believing her lies and for the financial strain their daughter had caused. They revealed that Deborah had been asking them for even more money recently, claiming she was destitute because I had cut her off completely. They had been considering taking out a home equity loan to help her. I assured them that Deborah was receiving court-ordered support from me and showed them the payment receipts. They were visibly distressed upon realizing the extent of their daughter's deception. Before leaving, her father handed me an envelope containing $1,000, a partial repayment for the money Deborah had stolen from my account. I tried to refuse, but he insisted. Meanwhile, Deborah has been telling mutual friends and extended family that I abandoned her without financial support and that she's struggling to survive. Several people have reached out to me with concerns, having heard only her side of the story. I've had to explain the situation repeatedly, which is both exhausting and embarrassing. The divorce proceedings are moving slowly. Deborah's attorney keeps requesting delays and filing motions that seem designed to drag out the process and increase my legal fees. My lawyer says this is a common tactic to pressure me into a more favorable settlement for Deborah. The financial strain is significant. Between paying my mortgage, the court-ordered support to Deborah, and legal fees, I'm barely making ends meet. I've had to take weekend construction jobs to supplement my income. I'm working nearly 70 hours a week now just to stay afloat. Update 3. It's been 5 months since my last update, and the divorce is finally complete. The last several months have been a roller coaster of legal battles, financial stress, and unexpected discoveries. 3 months ago, Deborah's attorney suddenly requested an urgent meeting with my lawyer and me. When we arrived, Deborah was there with her parents, looking defeated. Her lawyer explained that Deborah wanted to propose a settlement agreement, one that was actually favorable to me. She would waive any claims to alimony if I agreed to pay off half of her credit card debt, approximately $7,500, and give her the newer of our 2 cars. I was suspicious about this sudden change, so I declined to sign anything on the spot. My lawyer advised me to take time to consider the offer. After the meeting, Deborah's father asked to speak with me privately. He revealed the real reason behind Deborah's change of heart: she had met someone new and wanted to finalize the divorce quickly. This explanation didn't fully add up. Why would a new relationship make her willing to give up potentially years of alimony payments? I asked my lawyer to investigate further before I accepted any settlement. 2 weeks later, I received a call from my lawyer with surprising news. Deborah's new boyfriend was actually her first ex-husband, Mark. They had reconnected through social media shortly after she moved out of our house. According to my lawyer's sources, a mutual friend who worked at the same company as Mark, they had been seeing each other secretly for months. Even more interesting was that Mark had recently received a substantial inheritance from his grandfather, approximately $200,000. This explained Deborah's willingness to waive alimony. She had found a new source of financial support. I accepted the settlement offer with one modification: I would pay off $5,000 of her debt instead of $7,500. Deborah quickly agreed, and we proceeded with finalizing the divorce. During the final paperwork processing, I learned through court documents that Deborah's claimed chronic fatigue syndrome had mysteriously disappeared. She had secured a part-time job at a boutique clothing store, working 25 hours per week. The job required standing for long periods and regular physical activity, things she had claimed were impossible for her during our marriage. The judge finalized our divorce last week. I paid the agreed $5,000 toward Deborah's debts and signed over the car to her. She collected her remaining belongings from the house while I was at work. We arranged this through our lawyers to avoid any direct contact. After 6 months of living alone, I've finally adjusted to my new reality. The house feels emptier but more peaceful. My financial situation has improved dramatically without Deborah's constant spending. I've been able to save money for the first time in years. I bought those new work boots I needed, replenished my depleted retirement account, and even started setting aside funds for a modest vacation next year. Deborah's parents have maintained contact with me, which was unexpected. They occasionally call to check how I'm doing. During our last conversation, her mother mentioned that Deborah and Mark had moved in together. She also revealed that they had cut back their financial support to Deborah after discovering she had lied about her health condition for years. Some mutual friends have distanced themselves from me after hearing Deborah's version of events. Others reached out after learning the truth, apologizing for believing her lies. I've decided to focus on the relationships that remain solid through this ordeal rather than trying to correct every misconception Deborah spread about me. The most valuable lesson from this experience has been recognizing the importance of financial transparency in a relationship. I ignored red flags for years, making excuses for Deborah's behavior and enabling her harmful spending habits. I won't make that mistake again. Last weekend, I ran into Mrs. Peterson while mowing the lawn. She commented that I looked healthier and more relaxed. She was right. The constant stress of managing Deborah's spending and dealing with her manipulative behavior had taken a physical toll on me. For the first time in years, I'm sleeping through the night without worrying about money. The house is now fully organized, with no hidden packages or secret purchases lurking in closets. I've sold many of the unused items Deborah accumulated, using the money to repair things around the house that had been neglected due to our tight finances. My work performance has improved now that I'm not constantly distracted by home crises. My boss recently mentioned the possibility of a promotion next year if I continue on this track. I still have moments of frustration when I think about the years of financial strain and deception. But mostly, I feel relieved that chapter of my life is closed. The divorce was expensive and emotionally draining, but freedom from financial chaos is worth every penny.